2026 budget, any right? A lot of ado, if you ask me about the 2026 budget. It is one time when I've seen even spin doctors trying hard to spin against this budget. But is it just a carryover of the goodwill that Ghanaians have for this government? Or is there something really to write home about? Let's separate real talk, discourse, real dialogue from the noise. And to help me do that, no better person than our very own Dr. Gordon Newlove Asamoah, an economist based in the UK. And he, of course, as I've stated many times already today, is no stranger to this platform. Dr. Asamoah, thank you very much for joining us today, sir. Doc, I think you may have muted your mic as well. Please check that for me. I'm not sure what's going on, but I can't hear you. Okay, I see you are muted now, but for some reason I still cannot hear you. I'm not sure why. Let's do this, Doc. Let's have you exit and sign back on, and let's see that.
Is it any better now?
Now I can hear you. Please don't go. I can hear you.
You can hear me now?
Hear you now. Perfect.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you so much, Doc. How are you today, sir? You're looking great.
I'm doing good. Thank you very much, Casey. It's been a while. How is everything going?
Everything is going very well. We were waiting for a day like this to reconnect so that you can help us through, all the different things that we're hearing about the budget. The budget is something that everybody thinks they understand. But if you ask me, only a handful of people really understand the details, the nuances of the budget when it's read. And you, I believe, are one of such people. Please help us through this. Let's start like this. What stood out for you in the 2026 budget, Dr. Asamoah?
Okay, thank you very much. Like you said, when the budget is read, everybody have their views. Mm-hmm. But it goes beyond just listening to what the minister says. Mm-hmm. Because whatever is said and whatever is implemented will have consequences or implications. So some of us, we just don't just listen to what is said, but we go beyond to see if A happens, then what will be the effect on B? And that is the essence of the budget. Mm-hmm. Now, for me, what stood out for me, basically, in terms of how we've been able to contain our fiscal discipline. Now, coming to the election 2024, our spending was really high, even though we're under IMF program. We missed the target. When we call something budget deficit, and I will explain it simply. We're supposed to have a budget deficit of not more than 5% every year of GDP. Now, the deficit would mean that I work, I get £1,000, but I intend to spend 1,200. So that 200 expenditure, which is more than my revenue, is deficit. And I have to finance it in a way, either by borrowing or funding any other way. So according to our Financial Management Act, every year government should not spend more than, the deficit should not be more than 5%. And so when we went for the IMF program, the idea is to bring it down, but we still miss the target. So 2025 was a difficult year in the sense that the government needed to make sure that we stay disciplined within the expenditure framework that has been agreed. And so for me, we were able to achieve that. And so that is one point. And so I would say three things stood out for me. One is the fiscal discipline, how disciplined we were within the year. The second one was how the cedi has been maintained, the cedi versus the dollar, because we use the dollar as an international denominator when it comes to trade. So the country all over, everybody measures the strength of their currency against the dollar. And we could see that throughout the year, somewhere September, October, the cedi depreciated a little, but then it really bounced back and regained the strength. And cedi has been very stable and strong throughout 2025 up to this point, to the disappointment of some people. I was talking to a lady yesterday who works in one of the mining companies in Ghana, and she wasn't happy because the cedi is getting stronger against the dollar. And I asked, but you are in Ghana? I said, no, I work for oil company, mining company, and we are paid in dollars.
Yeah.
So we are paid in dollars equivalent. So, so because the cedi has appreciated, how much she was earning last year, she's earning less than she was earning
I had
last
a similar dilemma, Doc. I had to pay for something in Ghana, right? So I negotiated and split up the payments in two.
Yeah.
Paid the first half and said, okay, I was going to pay the other half in 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, when I calculate, I was paying substantially more because the cedi had so much inched against the dollar.
Yeah.
That's the same exact thing here.
Yeah, so that's the situation. So that is one thing that also stood out for me, because it means that we were able to stabilize the currency against the dollar. And the third thing is how we're able to bring inflation down from 23% at the beginning of the year to 8 point something percent. I mean, single digit inflation. By the year hasn't ended. We have one more month to go, December to go, but we've already achieved single digit inflation. So those are the three things, key things that stood out for me. And I'm particularly intrigued about inflation coming down because it has effects on the average person. Most of the time, we talk about the people on the street, people in the market, the ordinary Ghanaian. Now, if inflation is coming down, what impact does it have on someone on the street? Most of the time, we think that, oh, the inflation is coming down, but it's not reflected in prices. But this year, you could see that basically prices have remained stable, or even if there has been increase, not much. And the idea of inflation is, inflation does not necessarily mean that the prices are falling, but the prices are increasing, but the rate at which the prices are increasing is slowing down. And so if you go to the market, you could see that if we are buying rice, let's say a bag of rice for, let's say, 200 cedis, by this year, if inflation was really going high the way it was, it would have gone to maybe 300 or 280 thereabout. But you could see that to be around maybe 250, 230. So the rate at which the price is increasing has really fallen. And then if you look at petrol and diesel, I mean, fuel itself has really gone down. If you look at the price in January compared to now, it has actually gone down. So it tells you that, yes, we are saying that inflation is going down, but this time, not just saying it, but people are actually feeling it in their pocket. Now, a day before the minister went to parliament, I saw a video of him going to about 4 markets to interview the market women.
Before you make that point, let me play that video because I had meant to play it for you and ask you something about it. So now that you bring that point up, let's play that video so you can make it more forcefully, and then we can all relate to it as well. Let us watch this video. Newsroom.
The Accra-Kumasi Expressway is the flagship.
That's one. The 2 videos. This is
Hello. How are you? What's on? Good one. What I say? Hello, what's on? This is I'm gonna walk crab and net and no bar perform.
Oh, sister, be very stable. On jump will be on one side. See, you're okay. On the end, you're okay.
But what's then?
Walk on.
Maybe I walk on.
Walk on.
Yeah, good one. But what's then? But I'm here, Papa. I'm from our 2,000.
The
way so economy why is stable in Canada man.
When you are doing one.
And the first young way 12 million. Says you have a 550.
From my end.
12 million.
12.
No, 1,000. Why is stable? Dollar no na didn't you one more original them yes strong one.
Actually don't go on so doka krama.
Prices no nyame na yɛ na ase first esi day or do 10 cedis way since esi check up here 5 cedis
Half.
1 cup
It used to be 10 cedis.
no we about 5 cedis
Cup, margarine cup.
this cup
Another.
margarine cup
It was 10 cedis.
emo bag your cost do 1 million nkakra me since ya kita 60 55 enyo bito and wa kwaya do 1,000 since ya 5.8 esi chabo for my 5.0 nyama abufo moye oyefe kaka oyefe mo aba no yenyu aso papa mo ye no oyefe even for free SHS ya we bo so mpo wan gu mpo ono so ya ho ama sisi ekọ university first year no mpo oye free.
Okay, so we will let's pause over there for now, and I want you to, just so I don't take away, I don't truncate your thoughts, make that point, and then I'll ask you another question based on this video.
Yes. So when I watched that video, I was like, basically, people always complain every year. Hardly would you hear people saying that, oh, things are better than last year, because every year when we read the budget, I'm always on radio, all the thought we hear, oh, last year was far better than this year. Last year was far better than this year. Yep. So I was surprised to hear that this year things are rather getting better. And of course, if the market women who are selling the things are saying that the prices are coming down, and it makes sense, because if you are buying dollar for, let's say, 15 cedis, and now you're buying the dollar for 11 cedis, then obviously, if you bought something $1 and you are selling it 15, now you're going to sell it for 11 cedis. So the price will come down, and that will reflect in how people also respond to the market. So it was one of the things I believe that it really made sense, economic sense. Sometimes people believe that, oh, we don't eat macroeconomic figures. Yeah. But if you go to the market like this, and the people who matter are able to tell you how things have transpired from 1 year to another, then it gives you the exact thing as you should know, not just coming to talk about figures that people cannot relate to. If I listen to this, if I'm home and I listen to this from the market women, then I can relate that, yes, things are really getting better compared to previously.
All right. And Doc, the question that I wanted to ask you based on the video originally, first question is, what's the significance of that move? The finance minister going to the market to go speak with the people who actually handle the economy, come to think of it, right? And this is not the first time he's done it. He's done it before, even during campaigning and all of that.
Yeah.
But what's the significance? Is it just showboating, or do you see some real significance in that gesture, going to the market to speak with the market folk?
Yeah, for me, I believe it's very significant. I don't think it's showboating, because one, people rather want to hide behind the computers, hide behind TV, and then talk. They wouldn't want to go and face the people that they are implementing the policy to face. So this is someone who decided that, okay, I implemented a policy last year. I want to see how it's impacting in the life of the people. I want to talk to them directly, because how many market women will have the opportunity to sit on radio, on TVs and have discussion and make their views known to the minister. So let me go to them, find out from them firsthand how things are going and how I can impute their input into my budget, so that if I really care for them and I want to do things that will benefit them, then their input is very important. So for me, it's very significant that the minister did that. And I hope that within maybe the next year, maybe half year, before he does the review of the budget, he should go back and see how the policies are still impacting in the lives of the people. Because those of us who teach, we believe in feedback. When you get feedback, then you are able to know what you are doing right and what you are doing wrong. Criticism is good. People are not able to take criticism, but it's very good. Sometimes, like we say in Akan, but when someone tells you that you are doing A, B, C, D, but this particular thing is not working, then you can sit back, look at it, and see where you can adjust for it to be beneficial to the people. Because after all, what is the essence of the budget? Is for people, their lives to be impacted. We do vote because we want the government to make our lives better. So there's no better way of knowing if our lives are better than to come to us and talk to us. You don't have to wait till there's election, then you come to us. But from time to time, come to us, know from us if we are really benefiting from the policies that you are implementing or not. So for me, I think it's very significant, and the minister should continue to do that. I think this is the first minister I've seen from, I started following budget from Kwasi when I was young. I've never seen any minister going to the market to get feedback like this. So I think it's a good thing, and we should commend the minister for that.
Yep. And I think it's also putting yourself up for accountability, because basically, excuse me, you're telling the people, here I am, talk to me, ask me, but I wonder if, and God forbid, because I don't want us to go in a situation like that, but if in a situation like what was happening under the latter part of the previous government, if this man was minister, could he still have gone to the market and say, hey, here I am, I'm accountable for bringing your dollar from four cedis to, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I have a fertile imagination.
Yeah, it would have been very difficult. It would have been very difficult.
I think.
Yeah.
I think he gets the confidence to do this from the fact that he has something good to show Ghanaians. So it's easy to present himself for review. But my next question to you, Doc. So we're also looking at a very ambitious budget, in spite of the gloomy picture that was painted at the beginning of this government's tenure. All of a sudden, we see a very ambitious outlook. Do you see the 2026 budget as realistic, or do you see it as something that's just, as usual, meant to tickle our fantasies and then leave us hanging dry after some years?
No, I don't see it as too ambitious. It's ambitious, but realistically ambitious. What we call cautiously optimistic. Now, why am I saying that? If you look at 2025, because the government wanted to do consolidation, when it comes to capital investment, we didn't do much of capital investment. That is doing development projects. Okay. And every country that need to develop, you have to do development projects, building roads, hospitals, schools, electricity, and so on and so forth. But because of the consolidation that the government wanted to do, government remained fiscally disciplined within the year. And you can't do that forever. You can't say, I'm not going to spend so much. Yes, they did a necessary spending, but when it comes to infrastructure development, not much was done within the year. And so the following year, you need to put in measures. Normally, when you talk about consolidation, you want to be disciplined, but you also want to grow. you could see that this year, not much employment has been generated. And if you want to generate employment, then you need to do development project. You need to employ nurses, doctors, teachers, and so on. And then there are others who are not in these categories. There are people who want maybe casual job, like maybe mason, carpenters. And so theirs will be in terms of the construction work that government will undertake and other developmental projects. So government has to come in and do this. And now if you look at some of the policies that have been said, one thing saying, one thing implementing. So within the budget, if you look at some key areas that the minister allocated funding for, I would say that it's a way of creating jobs and orchestrating growth instead of just looking at stabilization. So they want to remain within the fiscal discipline at the same time, bring about growth. So that's why you talk about consolidating the gain and standing on the gains to spur on growth. So they talk about agricultural sector improvement. If you listen to the number of machines that they intend to bring in, combine harvesters, plowers, the tractors, and so on, to increase the productivity in the agri sector, that's going to generate a lot of jobs for the youth who go into agri. And then if you look at policy like having the free SHS to use made in Ghana rice, made in Ghana maize, everything here, then it stands to reason that if all the secondary schools in Ghana are to use rice from Ghana, you have to improve the agricultural sector. So bringing in those machines to boost agricultural produce will be a long way to fulfill that policy. In doing so, you are generating jobs for Ghanaians, you are putting money in people's pockets, and the government will also get money. So that is one area. Agric alone, he also talked about palm oil production. So if you look at palm oil production as well, if you go to Eastern region, Kede, Kusi, Takrase, those areas, they produce a lot of palm oil. But still, according to the minister, we imported palm oil into Ghana. So if we have to invest more in the agri sector to increase the production of these items, one, apart from increasing the production and reducing import, we are also generating job and income for the people. And then the reason why I said cautiously optimistic, for example, talk of doing 10 of the Agenda 111 hospitals, and I think it was very sensible idea. When Agenda 111 was launched, I was on radio and I said, look, the government has no intention of doing any of them, any of the Agenda 111. It was just propaganda, political talk. And my argument was simple. At the time, the government had $110 million. And one hospital was going to cost over $10 million. And then you say you have $110 million and one is going to cost you $10 million. Why start 111 hospitals? Foundation, you cannot even do the foundation alone. But sensibly, if you decide to use that 110 million to do 10 hospitals, you'll be able to complete it, people will start using it. Then you can think of others. But here is the case, you don't have the money, you start 11 and you end up living without completing one. So I was vindicated. So when I heard the minister saying that we are going to do 10, then I realized that yes, this minister has really sat down and thought things through.
Yeah.
Because you can't tackle all the 111 hospitals. So whatever money you have, if you can complete 10, and that 10 will be usable by people who really need it, I think it makes more sense. So that is where I believe that the minister has really sat down and thought things through so that they can have maximum impact on the people that they are governing.
Doc, let me ask you about, speaking of employment, and by the way, I was also going to ask you a question which you've already answered, which is the palm oil thing. Minister was very particular about palm oil, and he sounded like he was really going to put a lot of money in that area. But yeah, I think you've dealt with that. Let me ask you about one more thing he said regarding employment. He's projecting about 800,000 jobs in the short to medium term, right? As a result of many projects connected to the big push, etc., etc. Now, the previous government claimed that they created 800,000 jobs for just mobile money vendors alone.
Right.
So, and it hit me because I had 800,000 and something just went back. I'm like, 800,000 mobile money vendor jobs alone versus 800,000 jobs in the medium, not even the short, but medium term. Is this government messing with us? Like, if we're to take the previous government's numbers into consideration, should we receive 800,000 jobs in the medium term? I guess.
Yeah. Before I come to that. I was particular about the oil part because my dad, part of my family come from Eastern region, Kusi, and where we do a lot of oil. So when I was young in secondary school, my aunt used to do this soap, and I'm the one that they used to send to the area to go and buy oil, the palm oil in big drums, like a whole truck, and then I bring it for them. So I was very particular, and I look at the crude method by which they do all those things. So when I heard the minister saying they are going to invest in that, I realized, oh, it's a big industry. So if we can really modernize it, we can really harness a lot of palm oil from there to reduce the import of palm oil from other places. So that is why I was very particular about that. Now, coming to the job creation, if you look at the policies that are being touted, then you could even see that if, I always use if because literature says the day of planning is different from the day of battle. Because sometimes you plan doing something, but you end up not doing it. But if the policies are going to be implemented the way it is meant, then I believe that the 800,000 jobs will be within reach. One, we look at the agricultural sector alone, the improvement that will come to the agricultural sector, the number of people that will be engaged in the agric and the value chain. Because we are not looking at just the agric, we are looking at the whole value chain. So, for example, if people are producing more palm oil, then more people are going to produce soap from the palm oil as well. And then at each level, you're going to get employment. People are going to be employed to sell them and so on. So at each level, you get employment. Then you're going to look at the big push, creating investment. If people are to invest in industries by opening manufacturing companies, then they are going to employ more people as well. And if we are going to do the roads, the hospitals, the schools, then each of these are going to employ people. So basically, we are not looking at people being employed in government offices to go to work 9 to 5 or Monday to Friday, but we are looking at other developmental jobs that will create individual jobs for people, put money in the pocket of the people. If those policies are going to happen, and one other policy that can also help a lot is this poultry farming thing. You look at the chicken import of Ghana.
Yes.
Our chicken consumption, we don't produce even up to 20% in Ghana. We import about 80% of our chicken consumption. So you can imagine, even if we can produce up to 70% of our consumption, you can imagine the number of jobs that will be created. Because if you go to, let's say, Ashanti region, how many poultry farms do we have? Go to Western North. So if every region is to have even 5 big poultry farms with the processing where They can process the chicken and make it ready instead of like we are importing from outside. And then we have these cold stores facilities around, some going to the schools, some going to the private homes. It will generate a lot of jobs. The only problem is that we design nice policies, but we end up not implementing them the way we implement, the way they are supposed to be implemented. But if we are going to do that, then I believe that by the end of the year, a lot of jobs will be created. And by the end of the 4 years of Mahama, then if they created even 1.5 million jobs within that 4 years, I will not be too surprised if these policies are really implemented the way it should be implemented.
Okay, let's talk about the big push. And before we do that, let's watch this short video so we can base it on something. We'll be right back to talk about
infrastructure program. It is Ghana's first fully modern 6-lane bi-directional Class A expressway, a highway worthy of a nation on the rise. Stretching 198.7 kilometers, this expressway will become the central spine of Ghana's economy, linking our capital city to Kumasi, the heartbeat of the Asante region. It will cut through the Greater Accra, the eastern regions, creating a powerful southern-northern economic corridor that connects people, markets, and opportunities. To achieve this, the expressway follows a brand new alignment. This alone reduces the current travel distance by more than 50 kilometers, bringing it down from 250 kilometers to just under 199 kilometers. The impact on time and efficiency will be remarkable. Travel time between Accra and Kumasi will be cut by half. Transport costs are expected to fall by nearly 40%. And during construction, the project will create over 30,000 direct and indirect jobs for engineers, artisans, suppliers, and young people eager to work and build. But this project is more than a road. It is a catalyst for transformation. It will spark the development of new industrial parks, logistics hubs, storage centers, and service economies along its length. It will power our 24-hour economy and strengthen Ghana's global competitiveness. The expressway will feature 8 major interchanges, each designed to ease congestion and enhance access. These interchanges will be located at Accra Hub, Adeso, Isamankese, Achem Oda, Ofuase, Lake Busuntri, and Kumasi. Together, they will form a network of seamless movement and connectivity. The project also includes 3 significant bridges crossing the Birim and Pra rivers, ensuring a safe and continuous high-speed drive across changing terrain. To support travelers and transport operators, 4 service areas will be built along the route. This will include emergency medical centers, fire stations, maintenance and rescue units, catering rest stops, fuel stations, electronic vehicle charging points, and safe, well-lit parking spaces. All these facilities will operate round the clock in keeping with our 24-hour economy. Finally, 2 modern toll plazas, one in Accra and one in Kumasi, will each have 20 lanes. They will rely on automated tolling technology to ensure smooth, efficient revenue collection with minimal delays. The Accra-Kumasi Expressway is not just concrete and asphalt. It is a bold statement of intent, a promise to build faster, connect deeper, and transform Ghana's future. The Accra-Kumasi Expressway is going to open up our dear country.
This is why I'm saying this is kind of ambitious, Doc. But what's your reaction, first of all? Do you think this is achievable. I saw the minister asked about this, and he says he sounds very optimistic. He says the president will finish this in 3 years.
Yeah. I was on one TV station yesterday, and I was saying that even if Mahama does only these projects and doesn't do anything again, I would still consider him as very successful. If this is the only project he will do, because I've always cried for this kind of project. I quite remember I wrote an article the time, I think it was Kufuor who was in power, and there was this road from Ejoso to Kumasi, and there was this runabout at Tech Police Station.
Yes.
And even taxis were having accident there.
Yeah.
Big trucks were having accident.
Very well.
And I wrote this article that Accra Kumasi, the highway became a death trap. Eventually, it was removed. Now, I was saying that I live in North Wales. From here to Manchester is 150 kilometers. I go to Manchester within 2 hours because of good roads.
Yeah.
And it doesn't pass through any city center for me to slow down.
To slow you down.
So there's a constant speed limit with here, okay, we deal in miles. So constant speed limit of 70 miles per hour. So about 90, 95 miles per journey, I'm able to do it within 2 hours. Accra to Kumasi is not even up to 300 kilometers. Yes, it takes about 5 hours. Even when you get to Amasama, you get to Accra, to get from Amasama to Circle.
A whole hour and a half.
Exactly. So if we can get something like this, 3 lanes here, 3 lanes here, one, is going to reduce the time required. 2, all the unnecessary killings on the road in the form of accident.
Yep, collisions and all that.
If not eliminated, by 90% will be reduced. And so for me, other countries have done it. If you look at Rwanda, from a war-torn country to the kind of roads that they have, if really we are committed that we want to do this, and if the president wants to leave any legacy, then within the next 3 years, he should do everything possible to complete. Don't just start and leave it for someone to continue. I believe that when people are committed to something, they will find the way. I always say, if there's a will, there's always a way. So the minister said they are going to now do the tendering. I believe they should get as many contractors on it as possible, not to go and give it to friends who will just mess things around, and then they say that we're going to complete by 2028, then it ends up living without completing. Because when you live without you completing, you are the one who has the vision, who has the commitment. So if you don't complete it, and somebody comes and they have different priorities, then all your vision will be in vain. So for me, if really government is committed, it's doable. It's very, very doable within the next 3 years. I've seen how Rwanda, sometimes I'm surprised that Ghana will send delegation from Ghana to go to Rwanda to go and study their model of development. When Rwanda were having this civil war, Ghana was on the path of development. So what has happened? Because of lack of commitment and discipline. So I believe that if we can plug the loopholes and get rid of all the waste in the system, this project, less than 200-kilometer road, we should be able to do it within the next 3 years.
Okay.
And like the minister said, the kind of amenities that's going to have, fire station, hospitals, these are all ways of creating more jobs. Can you imagine if this is done in the next 3 years, the amount of job this project alone can create? So for me, it is very ambitious project, but it is within the purview of the government, if really the government want to do it. And like I said, I repeat, if government is able to complete this project, if they don't do anything at all, I will still regard Mahama as a very successful government.
Okay, we have only a few minutes left, but I have 3 questions that I really must ask you. So I'm going to try to crush it within the few minutes left. First question I want to ask you, next, Doc, is that we hear a lot about the gains of this government, or what the gains that we are all experiencing right now, being a result of previous policies, especially taken in 2024 by the previous government. For the sake of time and for the fact that it really annoys me, I'm not even going to play that video. But I'm hearing that exhausted argument about the gains that are being felt right now being a result of policies, put in place by the previous government. Which policies would this be? Do you know?
Well, probably they are talking about the IMF program that we are under. You see, government is a continuum. When one government leaves, another government comes in. But it also takes commitment. Okay, like I'm saying, even you talk about this road, it's about commitment. We're under IMF program, but we're not able to achieve the fiscal discipline that we're achieving now because the government then wasn't disciplined. But this government has decided to be disciplined. So yes, maybe they are building on what existed, but it does not mean that the success that has been chopped is because of the previous policy. Quickly, before in January, we nearly had doomsday. I don't know if you followed.
Yes.
We nearly had doomsday because the policies then, whatever was happening, power producers were not being paid, and they threatened to shut down and so on and so forth. It took this government to quickly mobilize and find a way out. So sometimes government is continuous, but then if the policy isn't working, it's because maybe the person at the helm of affairs is not doing the right thing. And so much as I would say government is a continuum and they are continuing this program under the IMF, I think the leaders currently are also committed to make sure that they're able to achieve the objective. They could have continued and then also mess things around because after all, when we came, things were bad. And so people are not going to blame us because things were bad before we came in. But they made sure that let's try to make things right. So I think they cannot attribute the success of this government to the previous government. But I'll say that they build upon it and they improve and they're committed to achieve what they have achieved. So it's a commitment that is very key in this regard.
Okay. The second of those 3 questions I want to ask you is the social interventions element. Excuse me. The social interventions element in the 2026 budget. What's your take on that? The government is really committing to spending quite substantial, sums on some very key social interventions. What did you pick up in the 2026?
Yes, it's one key thing that the minister also made effort. Our part of the world, UK is more or less, even though it's a capitalist, the government is more pro-social. So last year, when the Labour Party won, they decided to reduce the payment to disability and so on and so forth. And it came to the other elections and they lost miserably and they've come back. So it tells you that social intervention is very key. So I heard the minister saying they have even increased the District Assembly Common Fund that goes to the disabled, and they are going to buy some mopeds or moving machines for some of the disabled. So I think it's very good effort. If you, as a government, you have to look at the vulnerable because government is for everyone. And therefore, you don't have to look at only those who can afford, but those who are in dire need, they are the ones that are that need to be supported most. And so the government has decided, the minister decided to support them a lot, and I think it's commendable as well as far as the social interventions are concerned. Even they even increased the budget for free education and so on and so forth. So I think they are moving in the right direction.
All right, thank you. And then the final question out of those three that I want to ask you, if another one doesn't pop up before we go. But yeah, the last question in that trio is, I have not heard that the government has borrowed anything substantial, if at all. I haven't heard anything regarding, oh, we went for this loan or that loan or the next big loan or any. Have you heard anything like that? And if not, this is almost 1 year of a government that at least is telling us that they inherited a terrible economy, but hasn't borrowed for a whole entire year almost, and is still confidently stepping forward to give us such an optimistic budget. What would you say would account for something like this?
Well, I was actually surprised when the minister said that when they canceled the e-levy, it didn't have any effects on government revenue. I wouldn't say government hasn't borrowed. Government hasn't gone outside to borrow, but they've been borrowing domestically in terms of treasury bills. So they've been borrowing, but not as much, because the debt to GDP ratio has really come down, has really come down. So they've been able to manage their resources. Like we say in our local parlance, cut your coat according to your size. So they've been able to manage this. My only concern is this. We are under IMF program. IMF is watching, so they can decide to be very disciplined because IMF is watching. What my concern is if we go out of the IMF program and there's no one monitoring the government, would the minister still be this disciplined? And I hope that the minister can continue to be this disciplined. He said they will do smart borrowing. What my understanding of smart borrowing is that they will borrow to finance projects that can pay for themselves, like we had for the Atuabo gas pipeline. We borrow money to build the gas pipeline, and the gas pipeline is able to pay for that loan. So if we get something like that, we can call it smart borrowing, because you don't just borrow to consume. If you borrow to come and pay salaries, there's no way you get money to pay back. But if you borrow to finance a project like the big push road that we are going to tow, if you borrow to build this big push, it's not a waste of money. I will support you 100% if you want to borrow whatever amount to make sure that that road comes to fruition. So we need to be disciplined when we are out of the IMF program. I think this year, or maybe early next year, by the middle of next year, when we leave the IMF program and we are still disciplined like this, then I can see that, yes, we are actually maturing as a country, that we don't have to get a supervisor to look after us so that we do the right thing.
Thank you very much. And I said that was the last question, but something in my head told me that was not going
No
to be.
problem.
So this is something that one of our viewers is asking, and I'm going to just summarize it and ask you, right? So Kweku Mensa, Kweku is asking that, 1 second, let me get back to it. Newsroom, please put that comment up for me so I can relay it to Doc. But basically, from reading it earlier, I think what basically he's asking is that if the government has he's asking, what does this mean to him going to the market to buy anything? So far, we're hearing, here on this platform right now, speaking to you, we're not hearing the big figures. We're actually hearing an explanation of those things. Yeah. But I guess Kweku wants a little more explanation as to, when he goes to the market, what does all this mean for the cedi in his pocket?
Okay. So as far as the budget is concerned, me as a consumer, me as someone who goes to the market, all that I care about is the price I'm going to buy the product.
Basically.
And now, if the inflation is low, I'll give you typical, let me use this as example. If I buy rice, a bag of rice for, let's say, 100 pounds, 100 cedis, and inflation is 20%, what it means is that the price has increased by 20 cedis. So because inflation is 20 cedis, when I go to the market, I will buy the rice 120, meaning that I have to pay 20 cedis extra. Now, if inflation at the moment is 8%, what it means is that only 8 cedis will be added to that 100 pounds. So instead of going to buy the rice at 120, I will buy it 108. Meaning that because inflation has fallen, I'm able to save that 12 cedis.
That's right.
So as far as I'm concerned as a consumer, I'll pay less. Now, let me use the dollar as well. If the dollar is $1 to 15 cedis, and I buy something for $1, I'm going to sell it 15 cedis. Now, if I'm now buying the dollar at 10 cedis, then when I buy something for $1, I will sell it at 10 cedis. So as far as I'm concerned as a consumer, because the cedi is now stronger, I'm paying less for the product that I'm buying. And so in simple terms, the consumer should expect to buy things cheaper than it would have been if, I'm not saying the price may fall because of inflation, but if the inflation hasn't come down, I would have paid 120 for the rice, but now because the inflation has come down, I will pay only 108. But when it comes to the dollar can directly reduce the price, because if the dollar was 15, then anything that costs $1, I'm going to buy it for 15 cedis. But if the dollar now is costing 10 cedis or 11 cedis, then anything that costs $1 to buy, I'm going to pay 11 cedis, which is very good for me as a consumer.
So why then is it that some people also, well, even within Ghana, but I think you explained that at the beginning of the conversation though, because if you're trading, then you want to hold a balance, right? Because if the dollar was to drop all the way down to say 1 cedi to the dollar, that's not going to be very beneficial for people who are trading, importing, etc. Right? Is that right?
No, for the importers, it will be beneficial to them because they are able to get things at they are able to get the dollar at a cheaper price. So let's say I'm going to do business. All the money I have is, let's say, 1 million cedis. Okay. And that 1 million cedis can get me $100,000 if the dollar is 10 cedis. Now, if the dollar goes to 15 cedis, then that 150,000, then 1 million cedis can get me just about $75,000. What it means is that the things that I used to buy $100,000, I'm going to buy 15,000, 25,000 less because now my 1 million cedis is only able to give me $75,000. So to the importer, he's happy if the cedi is stronger. However, the opposite is that the person who is exporting will be losing, because what it means is that if somebody who had $1 million was able to change the $1 million for, let's say, 15 million cedis to buy cedis worth of goods, now that the dollar is 10 cedis, that person who has $1 million will only have 10 million cedis. So importing from Ghana becomes more expensive for that person. So it's going to have negative impact on those who export from Ghana, because it makes buying from Ghana to outside expensive, but buying from outside to Ghana will become cheaper. So that is where also the minister need to find a balance so that export doesn't become disincentive.
That's right.
Then import will become incentive. So more people will decide to import because it becomes cheaper to import into the country. So the minister should have a very stable balance for the cedi so that it doesn't become disincentive for export. Otherwise, Ghana will be finding it difficult to export, because from the minister perspective, we had surplus when it comes to our import and export. But when the cedi become too strong, then we are going to have difficulty exporting so much. So that is the balance we need to find.
I see. All right. And Doc, just 2 or 3 sentences, if you can, please. The big push video that we just watched, right? There was this discussion on social media about BOT versus government funded. What would be your preference? And what's the advantage of a BOT system if we were to put that in place?
Well, if I have my own way, then the BOT would have been best, because BOT will involve the private sector, and every private sector would not want to waste their money. And that would have been cost effective because a private sector, we all build houses and stuff. We have real estate developers building house and government building the same house may cost about twice or 3 times the cost of the real estate developer. So if it's BOT, one, they'll be committed and work very fast because they know that the more we delay, prices will go up and the cost will increase. Two, they will eliminate the waste in the system because they know that this is a private investment. When it is government, they want to employ so many avenues so that people who want to make money from the government project in terms of supervision, in terms of this and that. So if the budget, let's say 10 billion for this project, by the time government finish, it ends up about 25 billion. So if they can get BOT from the private sector, I'll be all for it. But if they don't get, then the government can finance. The idea is this: BOT is coming with private capital, which is very good. Government may not have the needed capital at that particular point in time to finish on time. So I will always go for private or BOT any day.
Or a morph between the two is
between the two. If the private is involved, also they will serve as a check on the government because no private person will invest their money and watch the government to just waste the money. So I'll be very happy if you can get BOT or government and private partnership involvement.
Thank you so much, Dr. Gordon Newlove Asamoah. Thank you so much for your time and your insights today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, and always a pleasure to be here with you.
All right. We will, of course, we'll come to you again when anything of this nature comes up that needs dissecting.
Definitely.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time.
Right. Have a lovely day.
But best regards. Thank you.
All right.
Radio, culture.